final tool and game that I love to play, especially with negative people. We were talking about negative people before. It's called Kill 'Em with Kindness. Yes, I know that's not necessarily original, but it's a lot of fun. Is that vodka? No, just water. So when I say kill 'em with kindness, a lot of people think that I'm talking about some, mushy, new age, peace and love, la 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 la. No, I'm talking about kindness as a weapon. I'm talking about kindness as a great offensive tactic. Because if someone's coming at you and they're being negative and they're up in your face and they're poking at you and trying to get a reaction from you, and all you're doing is being nice to them, it throws them off. Well said, Anna. Yeah, it throws them off, and it pisses them off, and it puts you on the higher moral ground. So doing this at work is just so cool. I had a woman in a workshop who was just complaining about this bully of a boss that she had, and she was terrified of him. She was terrified because of the economy. She didn't want to lose her job. She hated going to work every day. She was just terrified, and this guy she could not do any right by this guy. So I said, when was the last time you offered him a cup of coffee? I said, when was the last time you asked him how he was feeling? And she looked at me like I had two heads. It's like, no, he's not going to go into all that kumbaya, peace and love, hippies talk. No. Forget all that. It goes back to the lion with the thorn in his foot. If somebody's being that nasty to you, there's probably a really, really good reason for it. Show them some kindness. Will it work? Is this the solution to the problem? Maybe, maybe not. One of my mentors told a story of how she had this same situation at her job, and she turned around and showed the boss some kindness in the middle of him yelling at her, and they ended up becoming really good friends. He was going through a divorce at the time, and it was such a hardship for him because his whole life was being turned upside down and he didn't have anyone to talk to. And all of a sudden, this employee comes in and lends him a compassionate ear. Sometimes that's all it takes. So this woman from the workshop, she goes in on Monday, and what she did was, the boss called her on the phone and started yelling at her right away. And she said to him, "Wow, you sound really upset. How was your weekend? Was everything okay?" And she said her coworker in the next cubicle turned around like she's mouthing, "Are you crazy?" And the boss softened. And all it did was change his perspective. It showed him that he was being aggressive for no reason. And it showed him that she was compassionate and not just thinking he was an ogre. So yeah, there's an element of peace and love and kumbaya to it, and possibilities. The way I found this, through my experience, was, again, back in the days when I was in my late teens and early 20s waiting tables. I had a customer who was such an obnoxious little... Nothing was right. He would order something, for instance, he ordered a piece of apple pie. Didn't say anything about warming it up, didn't say anything about ice cream, ordered a piece of pie. I brought him a piece of pie. He sends it back, it's not hot. I bring him back a warm piece. Where's the ice cream? I could have got mad at him, I could have yelled at him. And don't get me wrong here, at 19 and 20 years old, I wasn't some enlightened being, where I'm being all la 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 with this guy. I wanted to kill him, but it was a busy lunch and I didn't have time So I just yesed him to death. Yes, sir. Anything you want, sir. Absolutely, sir. And the more he couldn't get me to cry and get me to yell and get me to throw food at him, the more he tried. This guy, no lie, Elmer Fudd red. Remember how red Elmer Fudd would get when Bugs Bunny would come up and kiss him or be nice to him or all that stuff? That's what happened with this guy. I thought he was going to have a heart attack, and it was the most hysterical thing I'd ever seen in my life. Which isn't to say he didn't push my buttons. It took every ounce of energy I had to not freak out. And when he left, I went in the back and literally punched a hole in the wall. So I'm not saying it's necessarily easy, but you're not, for the most part, going to run into people of that intensity. People are negative and they come at you, and more often than not, you show them a little kindness and it takes the wind right out of their sails. So yeah, it's peace and love and spiritual and kumbaya, but it can also be a really cool offensive weapon that completely disarms your opponent. If you want to turn this thing into a challenge kind of thing, a fight sort of thing. So kill them with kindness. Have fun. And the other aspect of it is, especially if you're at work, you can't get fired for being nice. So it's just this beautiful, multi-layered kind of thing that you're already on the high moral ground, you're on the higher spiritual ground, you're on the higher physical ground. You can't get in trouble for being nice to people, even if it does piss them off.